kicked him a couple of times. The guy runs around with a bandage on his head for 5 weeks. So, you know, after that, I looked like all I did was beat up reporters. So I never thought anything about it until on deposition time. And I was called in for deposition, and Vince's attorneys, one of the first questions they asked me, do you make a habit of beating up TV reporters? And they bring out the Japanese picture. And I'm sitting there saying, dong, you know,
Right.
I've been had. So that was the first time I realized that I'd really got, you know. And then from then on, Vince wanted me to take it complete. He said I did it on my own. He didn't give me no direction to do it, didn't say anything. I said, no, I'm not going to perjure myself and say, you know, lie to, you know, on a deposition. I'm going to tell the truth.
Right.
And he said, well, you know, I didn't tell you to hit him. I didn't tell you to do anything. You did that on your own. Oh, yeah, right. You go out and do an interview with John STOSSEL in 2020, Madison Square Garden, without somebody telling you to do it. It don't happen. Live TV, it don't happen anywhere. John STOSSEL on his deposition and Vince McMahon deposition. Vince McMahon says he told John STOSSEL not to go anywhere to interview no wrestlers anywhere in the building. This is only the deposition now, and I just happen to have a copy of these depositions. I don't have them with me, but I got them.
Right.
John STOSSEL on his deposition said that Vince McMahon directed him to me. Also, John STOSSEL said he interviewed Eddie Mansfield before he come to the, you know, weeks before.
Right.
And that Eddie Mansfield told him, do not go to David Schultz and talk to him about wrestling being fake. Eddie Mansfield told him, do not go to David Schultz. And he says that on his deposition. So if you've been forewarned not to come talk to me about wrestling being fake, why would you do it? I mean, that don't take, the boy, you know, he got a,
Screw loose?
Yeah, you got a screw loose. His elevator don't go to the complete top floor. Got a bunch of candles, but they all ain't lit or
Right.
something. So, and I just, this offered just a little deposition I read. And evidently Vince was saying one thing and Stossel was saying something else on the deposition, completely different. So you know what? Somebody's a liar.
Right.
One of them's a liar, or both of them's a liar, and both of them telling lies and whatever, you know. I offered to go back on 2020. I offered to go on there and sit down with them. They asked me if I'd come on. I said, sure. Excuse me. I said, I will come on and do your show, but it has to be live. No cutting, no leaving me on the cutting room floor, no making John Stossel a hero. And then here last year, I see Stossel out doing a book. He got a book. He's on Maury Povich or somebody. You know, this guy, after 22 years or whatever, journalism, whatever he did, you know, I would be so embarrassed to come out and say, the greatest thing I've ever did was get bitch slapped on national TV. That's the highlight of my career. And he's using me, slapping him, on all these talk shows, promoting his book. And that's the biggest thing he's done. I mean, that is pathetic to go out and tell audience that, hey, you know, I got bitch slapped on national TV. That's my highlight, you know, 20-something years journalism. And that's the best thing you come out with. And, you know, but they can't quit talking about it.
What about Dr. D. David Schultz? What are your memories of him from this time period?
Never liked him. Guy was an asshole.
Him too.
Yeah.
He also toured Japan with you too, I think, right?
Yeah, he was on the tour in Japan, and we were in Osaka. I remember this time, and they hated Schultz. The company hated him, but Vince Sr. sent him over there the first time, and then Sakaguchi said, don't send this guy back here because we don't like him. He can't work. All he wanted to do was talk. Well, you can't talk in Japan. You got to work over there. You got to produce, right? So they sent him back a second time, and then New Japan got really ticked off. So we're in Osaka, and I'll never forget this. They had him tagged up with me, and we're working with Sakaguchi and this kid named Kendo Kimura. And they said to me, they said, Alan, and one of the young boys came over and said, Mr. Sakaguchi, who was the boss, said, let Schultz start and you don't get in the ring whatsoever. I said, really? I said, yeah. So every time he come to tag you, you leave. So that's what I did. They beat the, you know what, Alan. They just beat the crap out of him.
Wow.
And I just feel sorry for him because I didn't like the guy anyway.
Were you surprised when he slapped Stossel, John Stossel?
Yeah, that was his, with the big ego and everything. He tried to blame Vince for it, and personally, I don't think Vince had anything to do with it. This is my personal opinion. I know Vince is, I don't like him at all, but I don't think Vince is that stupid enough to tell him to do that, especially on national TV where he can get sued, So this was his way of trying to show, how he's the big man.
And also, you were there the night that Dr. D. David Schultz, he slapped John Stossel. What do you remember about that?
One of the best nights I was there. Because that Jabroni John Stossel come, asked Dr. David Schultz, is wrestling is a phony or real? And doctor tell him, you want to tell you is a phony? He slap him. One, he go down. He come up, another slap. He never come up. I tell him, you get the fuck out of here before we kill you, because that was Jabroni, John Stossel. What was
John Stossel.
He was fault because we tried to solve our business. And David Schultz is a good friend of mine. I like him, whatever he is. God bless him. He was a bounty hunter. He's a good friend of mine. And he's all right.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Were you in the locker room when Dr. D. David Schultz hit John Stossel? And did Vince put him up
I
to
was
it?
10 feet away from him.
Did Vince?
We
There's rumors.
will never know the answer to that. Everybody can suspect. They can they can think that maybe that Vince was taking a look at getting some press. Even Vince always, whether the press was good or bad, he made the most of it.
Right.
Make sure you spell the names right, and make sure you get WWE or World Wrestling Federation, whatever it happened to be.
Do you think at that time, though, it was good? Maybe Vince probably wanted good press, bad press, but do you think it got too much out of control, like in the 90s, where it was almost too much bad press, and then
I think that David Schultz was out of control, because David was obviously on steroids at that time, and maybe back that up with some other kind of a concoction.
Right.
But Stossel was there doing, I think it was an ABC 2020 or
Right.
Dateline or 2020, yeah. Anyway, he said, Dr. David Schultz, what do you have to say about your critics that contend that professional wrestling is fake? Boom.
Right.
Stossel got back up again and came back. He says, you've got to answer my question. What about the fact that many contend that professional wrestling is fake? He said, this is an open hand slap. This is legal in the World Wrestling Federation. And he immediately dropped him again.
I just actually watched that a couple days ago.
Yeah, big lawsuit.
Right.
Were you there the night that Dr. D. David Schultz slapped John Stossel?
Yes, but I was in the dressing room and I didn't hear, I was getting ready for a match and I didn't hear anything until it was all over.
What are your thoughts on that? We did a shoot with Dr. D, and he said Vince pretty much put him up to that.
You did?
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on. I knew that it didn't take much to to set him off.
Right.
He was ready for a fight.
What was he like outside the ring, Dr. D? High strung or?
He kind of kept to himself, I think. I was never around him that much.
Brother, I loved it when you slapped John Stossel on his ass.